All right.
All
Jesus.
right. Jesus.
This is not going to be fun.
Oh,
Well, I mean, it's going to be fun, but
Well, I mean, it's
nice.
gonna be fun, but
No shirt. Just
No
leave it off.
shirt.
Leave it off for the whole thing.
leave it off. Leave it off.
So we're gonna start this episode
It's a
with
little
some
nilly tonight.
toplessness.
Strip dance.
Hope you guys don't mind out there.
Dance.
We get topless over on my side. Take a big swig,
Oh,
John.
Lord. I'm
Oh,
going to
hang
need
on,
a
bring my
bigger
pop.
twig. I'm going to need a refill.
I'm gonna need a refill.
How's it going
All
tonight,
right.
man?
All right.
It's going good, man. I wish we
going
could,
good, man.
we could
I wish
figure
we
this
could
out. It's frustrating.
figure this out. It's frustrating.
Well, that's why we don't have our own podcast yet. This is all the experimental stage, so don't sweat.
Thank God.
Thank God.
We'll have it figured out, though. Another couple of tries,
We will.
guys. So be patient with us.
Probably
So,
1,000
we're gonna get
bucks
this
from
set up.
this.
We're gonna get this set up.
We will. So
So
we did a podcast earlier this week, and we had this delay too, which I'm sorry about. But just to let you know, I told him that I promised you that I would not be the asshole on our live. So I'm gonna try to behave tonight, just so you know.
I mean, you could be yourself, but
You can be yourself.
I don't think you want me to.
there. So Chris, there is going to be an echo
Chris, there is gonna be an echo.
because for some reason
For
I can
some
hear them,
reason, I can hear them.
but I cannot get it to where they can hear me when I'm talking through my little machine here. So they had to put me on speakers, kind of like I had to be on a freaking cell phone last time in order to hear them. So I apologize in advance, but you're gonna hear me twice.
You're gonna hear me twice.
Baby steps. We're learning.
Yeah, this is all a new experience for us, and I spent a ton of money on equipment, and apparently I didn't spend enough money, and I'm afraid that we're going to have to drop some more cash to get this problem. It's just the craziest thing that we can hear each other sometimes, but not all the time.
Right.
And
So away it goes.
So it
We'll
goes.
figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
So how was Arlington?
So how was Arlington?
it was awesome, man. I was glad to see you there. Had a lot of fun. And now I messed something up.
How was Arlington?
Ah, dang it. Hang on. I got awesome, man. Glad to see you there. Had a lot of fun.
There's like a triple now. That's amazing.
Okay. All right. That's taken care of.
Yeah, we got it muted. So we're just it's going so we can see the comments. That's the only reason I did that.
So Arlington was amazing. We got to meet some really cool people that we don't normally get to hang out with. And so that was tons of fun because, interacting with people online is cool, but being able to actually hang out and visit and see each other face to face and get a drink, get in the hot tub together, that's fun. So,
I missed that one.
yeah, we had a blast. We had a real blast.
Picked up some cool animals and got to. The one thing that really, the only bad thing about it is we actually got to meet JD Constriction, and
Which was awesome.
yes, he's a wonderful guy. He was very thankful. We did an entire interview with him. I didn't turn the microphone on, so
Yeah,
it's just
we
a bunch
lost
of lip
that
service.
entire interview, which really is terrible because we got to hear about the origins of the Stormtrooper ball python, and he's just a cool guy. I mean, he has a beautiful collection, and yeah, that was really a shame that we lost that whole interview.
And the lip service we got was through a mask, so I couldn't even voice it over,
Yeah.
with
Right.
"Hey, how's it going, Mister?" and Marita saying, "Oh, I'm doing great. How are you doing?" I couldn't do none of that, so it really sucked. How about you, John? What did you think about Arlington?
I loved it.
I loved it.
I wish that I could have done both days. but we celebrated Josiah's birthday that Sunday, so we were only there Saturday. Picked up 4 animals. Yeah, 4 animals. 2 of which came from you guys.
That's cool, man.
I stole the spider. Well, didn't steal it, but I made sure during the auction that no one could get the spider, so it stays in the family. So first time bred in the U.S. will stay with the family.
Hey, how do you say that name again? I forget. How do you say that?
You're gonna do me like that right now? I knew that was coming.
Come on, you're
Hold on.
tarantula expert.
I am not a tarantula expert at all. Give me just a second. I'm smart enough for JD's tricks though, so I always save his text messages. Where's the cat?
It is a really cool species. We just put a video out on it Friday night, and it's a real stunner. It has subtle blues and lavenders through it, which is really cool.
I could not say the scientific name if you had a gun to my head.
Oh, just try it. Let's hear it.
Ornithot. Tonine.
That's actually good.
Mindanao.
Mindanao. Good job.
And see, that's not the actual scientific name. Ornithoctoninae is actually the genus it comes from. But apparently they haven't even figured out what species it is exactly, which is really cool. You've got a spider there that is pretty much untouched by science so far.
So what's Mindanao?
I think that's the locale. That's where it's found.
Where's Mindanao at?
South of here.
Oh.
I don't know. I have no idea.
In the upper northwest corner of the
Mindanao Peninsula.
I was gonna say peninsula. Great minds.
But no, it's a really cool spider, and hopefully we'll get them pretty quick, and we'll get to do some breeding loans and stuff.
Oh, dude, that thing's freaking wicked. Like, it's all over its enclosure. I love it. It's almost as crazy as my avicularis, or avicularia.
Avicularia.
Pronunciation isn't my strong suit. I grew up on hooked on phonics, okay?
Well, anytime she starts giving you that, tell her it's a dead language, so I can say it any way I want to.
Pretty much. I mean, I should understand how to say it because medical field, you use Latin all the time too.
Vagina, what is that Latin for?
All right. So I'm not going there.
And so it begins.
All right,
that's
I
it.
promised I would read
The beast is kicked out. Someone call his cell phone.
By the way, everybody, if I have to take off, that's because I am on call at work, so I may get called out on these, and it'll be just John and DTG, so, which I think most people would look forward to if it happens.
No.
I mean, as long as you do a striptease before you leave again.
I can do it right now if you want. I'm ready.
Hey, don't be sharing all that with everybody. That's mine.
I gotta build it up for super chats when we're able to get super chats.
So you were talking about you ended up with that Mexican black king snake. You said that you found a line on one. Tell me more about that.
I have 4 or 5 females that I'm looking at right now. The issue is they're all 2020 babies and between 40 and 50 grams. So.
Well, I don't think you're going to be able to find one much bigger than.
Yeah. Well, I know people that breed them, so I'm gonna try to use some leverage and favors if it can happen. It probably won't, but if I have to go with the baby and grow it up for a couple of years, it's okay too.
Well, we just did a video tonight on 2 of our snakes species that we didn't know what they were, and a guy, the California king snake that we bought, he doesn't think it's a California king, and the one that he said it probably is. So that's a big bummer. 'Cause we've had this animal for a while. We're raising it up to breed, and now we're not comfortable trying to put that together with a Cal King. So we need to find some female Cal Kings.
It wouldn't happen to be Arizona descent, would it?
Be what?
Of Arizona descent. Not that we're aware of.
I don't even remember what he said it was. It was something that I'm not familiar with, which when it comes to king snakes, there's so many of them and they all look very similar. It's it can be very easy to confuse them because, I mean, it kind of looks like a California king. It just didn't look exactly like one, which is why we started asking the questions, and it looked like it's not. Let's see. There we go.
And see, for those being even the rat snake, like you said, I think you said albino, right?
He said so. This guy, aka Threads, he said Eastern Chain King, and then he thinks the rats are Western rats, which, like I said, they look like Texas rats, but their personalities are nothing like it. They've never bitten us. Once in a while, you might get a feeding response, but the Eastern Chain King looked very similar from what we saw in the pictures online. And of course, all of our books are still
Back in Mexico.
Yeah, so we can't even go to our rat snake books and our king snake books and look.
Well, if you guys would hurry, there's a couple of books in that library I would like to check out.
Well, I told you, man, you need to come visit and go through Roswell so you can pick that stuff up for us and then take an incubator home. It's pretty much a straight shot if you go through Roswell, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. It only doubles the time.
Like a boomerang.
But how are your females looking, the ones that were ovulating?
So the one that did ovulate, so out of 5, I got 2 other ones ovulated. And then I had that heat spike because of the thermostats. And they are showing no sign anymore, so I'm pretty sure they reabsorbed or absorbed. And then I have the one that is on day 3 of ovulation, day 4 of ovulation. Her swelling's still there. And I'm feeling 4 bumps, so I'm guessing I'm going to have 4 eggs. And hopefully they'll be good odds and they'll hatch and everything will be good.
Awesome, man.
First clutch ever. That'll be freaking awesome. I'll finally be able to say I'm a breeder of something.
Hey, you got 3 kids running around, don't you? You're a breeder of something.
I'm definitely good at breeding something. I just got...
Nah. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you in trouble. No, it's, we once again, for about our 5th year in a row, we tried to breed horned frogs, but of course our season was all messed up because of the move. And now I found a guy that really pissed me off, which I know I wasn't going to say that. Online, he said he says he knows how to breed horned frogs, but he's not going to teach anybody, and that really irritated me. So now I want to go through it. Me neither. So now I want to go through and learn how to do it and teach everybody how to do it, because there's no reason. If they're that easy to breed, then everybody should be breeding them that has a desire to.
I completely agree. So here's one of the things I want to talk about, and I don't know if you guys looked at the title. I guess I should have forewarned you. We're having an off night tonight, guys. Don't judge us. But since we do a lot of traveling, I know you guys travel all over the place to pick up snakes or to do videos. And done about 3 weeks of traveling myself recently, and it was very difficult to find people to take care of my collection, and found myself very frustrated when I came home. Not that all my animals weren't healthy or safe, but it just wasn't. It wasn't my level, which you can't always expect from the person you bring in, but is what it is. So, what do you guys do when you know you're going away for a while?
Say a prayer, because we have had tragedies occur even being gone for a couple days.
And really, we can't unless we leave one employee behind.
Yeah.
Someone that's been with us for years. And even one person, no matter how good they are, can't do what all of us do together. So it really is like a bare bones maintenance, like hope no one dies, and sometimes they still do. And I mean, that's the ugly truth. When you have a collection as massive as ours, which, you know, some people have bigger, but we're really diverse too, which makes it way more complicated.
Take your earphones off.
Why?
Because there's nothing coming through them.
Oh. Good, because they're giving me a headache.
I love it. I love it. I wasn't going to say anything.
You need to, man. So we went through and we did a live with people with R&B Reptiles and what's his name?
David Levinson?
David Levinson. I'm falling in love with David Levinson, man. That guy
He is.
awesome.
They've got a weird man crush thing going. It's
and
getting a little personal.
so we got 45 minutes into it. I looked down at the microphones. None of them are plugged in. We're just going through the camera. Didn't even know it. Had everything hooked up. So, yeah, if something like that comes up, please let us know. But one of the things I wanted to say is a couple people that I've talked to that actually want to start bringing people in to train to learn how to take care of the collections, and these are big guys. They say that they don't want anybody that has any snakes at all. They want people to come in not knowing nothing about snakes so they can train them exactly how they want it done. So when it comes to bringing people over to your house, I mean...
it's hard. I mean, it really is hard. When you have a collection basically plan to never leave home again or seriously compromise, and that's a hard thing to do when your product or your collection is made up of living creatures, because I mean, you don't ever want to sacrifice someone intentionally, but you know, there's still times.
But
when you
what
have
if
to
it's
go
for the
visit
better
family
good?
and-
It's to the snake god.
Yes.
No, we don't want
Snake
to
gods can have the snakes when I'm done with them.
right? Right.
So are we using these?
No, the microphones are not working. Everything is kaput. All this money, worthless.
Okay.
It's not worthless. We'll figure it out.
Then get them out of my way, because I can never sit down and use a computer because there's all this stuff hooked up everywhere.
That's what she said. So what you want to do is you just want to find a couple people, because here's another thing about it is you get somebody that's all gung ho and you bring them in and you show them the ropes, and then you say, hey man, can you take care of this in next month? We're going away. And they come in, and you know the first thing that's going to happen when they walk in that door is something tragic is going to happen. There's going to be a snake eating another snake. Something's going to be weird that you weren't, you were in a hurry getting animals packed up, and you let one go, and he comes in, and there's a big old snake in the middle of the room. So
Not that we've ever done that.
no, we've never done that, but it's a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And then the next time that you need to go somewhere, you call that guy up. Generally, they've got something better to do that weekend. So it's good to train a couple people.
And so, like, the good thing about
oh my
it.
gosh.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's tough.
So the good thing about it is, like, the guy that does it, we're really close. Like, he does nothing but works with animals all day, right? But the time that I was gone and visiting my dad, and like showing the family the entire East Coast, because we literally traveled like basically from the northern tip of New Hampshire all the way down through Tennessee and then across, right? So I think my wife and kids saw like 13 different states or something like that. But
Wow.
anyways, this guy works on a ranch that I used to work on, and he comes over and he helps me out with the snakes every now and then. So he knew how to take care of them. He knew their feeding schedules, all that. And, he was trying to help me out and like keep water clean and all that. And I told him, hey, like every couple of days, just mist it down so that they don't get too dry, so that the humidity stays up in the room, because I don't expect you to refill the humidifiers every day and deal with that like I have to do when I'm home, right? Because he's got a full-time job, so I'm not gonna pull him away from what he has to do. But so he ended up just like pouring water out of a water gallon. I'm assuming, I don't know. I came back and all my stuff was soaked. Like all the substrate was soaked. So I had to change all of those. I had to start checking for RIs and stuff like that. And it's not his fault. But at the same time, it's just fucking frustrating.
Yeah, it is, and it's a huge commitment when you've got all this collection and you want to go traveling. It's extremely difficult. Most of the big breeders, you know, when they talk, they talk about just leaving for shows, leaving at the last possible minute and taking off and heading right back home just as soon as the show's done, because they don't have time to do anything else. Because that costs them money to get home, and the hours it takes just to get everything back to the way it was. You could lose animals, or you know, just the cost of resetting up all those cages. It can get expensive really quick.
It's frustrating, and I'm getting ready to put out a video. The other big thing was like my big boa. I only have one boa constrictor. My big boa, it had to be the day that we were coming home, and so I had him coming every other day, right? Change the waters completely every other day and spray down the substrate. I guess she got frustrated with the temperature in the room or something, and she ended up pushing, right? Well, the top of her enclosure isn't completely flat because it's a like one of those giant plastic tubs that you get from Lowe's, but it's more than enough room for her right now while I'm waiting for those PVC enclosures, right? And she ends up pushing, and she literally ripped from in between her eyes to about the mid of her head away. So now every day, about 2 to 3 times a day, I'm adding freaking triple antibiotic cream to her, trying to get it to heal and not get infected, at least long enough for her to shed a couple of times and start getting some muscle put back together, because she pushed hard. Like, it's not all the way down to her skull, but it's to the point where I'm probably gonna have to take her to the vet. Like, I'm trying to avoid it. I know how to pack a wound and do all that from my time in the military, but I don't know that I'm gonna be able to keep her the way she needs to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She may just need antibiotics too. I mean, when you have a wound like that. Yeah, that's tough. It's real tough.
We had a situation about 4 years ago where we were trying to build the cut of tortoise had started digging a hole and was getting cold. We were going to try to keep him out a little longer because in Roswell the season's a little shorter than it is over here in Texas. So we were out there and we were using concrete blocks, and one of the workers decided to drop one, and of course the corner of it went down through the ground into the shell of the turtle. and we actually did use YouTube to find some videos on how to repair that. And we used plaster of Paris and netting, and turtle's still alive. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But that plaster of Paris has come off the shell.
Yeah, I figured it would shed off over time, but I guess I did a good enough job that it's going to be on there for several years longer. But we had to, the shell was all caved in, so I had to use tools to pull it back out and then smooth it over. And we were consulting with a vet the whole time, and they said, yeah, you guys know what to do. Basically, if the animal doesn't seem like it's in pain, just keep working carefully. And so we did that operation at our house, and we've done things like that. I mean, if there's a wound, we know how to deep irrigate it, or, we've done quite a few things like that. So I would say if it doesn't look like it's infected and it looks like it's healing, we had an animal just brought back to us with some serious wounds, and there were whole areas of flesh hanging, and that was maybe 3 weeks ago, and it's almost completely healed up now. And so we just use salt water and some gentle irrigation and good lighting and heat so he could metabolize well and eat. I was afraid the first big meal he had, when his scale stretched, that all that new flesh would tear, and he's doing great. So animals, if you have medical knowledge and you're knowledgeable in reptiles, they don't have to go to the vet every time.
Right.
And my recommendation is, if you want to learn how to do something on a snake, try it on your kids first. If it works on them, it'll work on your reptiles.
That's horrible.
Believe me, we've done a lot of surgeries. Lady I knew a while back, she said that the cure for everything from her dad was KRS spray. They got a little scratch, they got an infection, they got sprayed with KRS. And they lived to adulthood, so what more can you ask for?
That's ridiculous.
It's the way of the world, man.
But I really think it's funny.
I really think it's funny.
You got to find someone that has your passion in it, but is not already set in their own ways.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to do, but it is manageable. I'm surprised how many people I've heard that through, that they didn't want anybody in there working with their collection that had any snakes. Just because we all learned to do things our own way, and if we tried to, all of us snake people tried to get in somebody else's collection and manage it the way that we manage ours, it'd freak out. It's just, everybody does it uniquely, and you do what works for you, and your animals actually adapt to it to a certain extent. They get used to the ways things are done, and somebody comes in and doesn't know what they're doing. That's often where bites occur. Like our snakes are conditioned for a feeding response. We don't have very few that are socialized for her to take out and dance or to show to kids. And we've got enough of them that if one's in a bad mood, we've got another one we can pull out. But if somebody comes in and doesn't know what they're doing, a lot of times there's a bite.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's one of the things that I told him too. That may have been one of the reasons that the big girl pushed. Was just like, hey, as long as you get her water, rinse her down, like she eats every 10 to 14 days. You know what I mean? Like she gets a jumbo rat every 10 to 14 days. We were only gone 11 days. It's not a big deal. Like, I told him I'll feed her when I get back. Don't have to worry about that. Just make sure the water's good. So my thought is maybe the humidity just got too high in her enclosure, or maybe she was just getting to the edge of that feeding time, and she was looking for food, and she wanted out. And then she's also getting used to kind of getting out every couple of days anyways for like exercise and stuff. So maybe it was that too. I don't know. There's too many variations that could have happened.
There's no telling, and I wouldn't say anyone necessarily did anything wrong, so
No.
don't
He
beat
didn't do
yourself
anything
up
wrong.
over it.
So, gotta love carpet pythons is and get some calendula for the wound too. I don't
Okay.
know what that is, but apparently it
She
helps.
said it's antibacterial.
Well, there's this thing that they use at the ranch too. I'm trying to figure out what it is. It's like a cream that they put on cows and livestock when they get really bad wounds. Like we literally had this one cow or calf when I was working there. It had like this big hanging freaking mole, right? And it got nervous and it ended up picking its stomach and kicked that mole and caught it, and it ended up ripping the freaking wound like that into its stomach. And like, so we had to go and we had to irrigate and clean it, and then you'd put this cream on it, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. And a hole like this literally was completely sealed within a week and a half, 2 weeks. Like, I don't know what's in it, but it's a miracle cream.
Well,
And I want to find
KRS,
out what it
believe or
is
not,
and
is-
see. Oh, go ahead.
KRS spray is actually a pretty good antibacterial, but she's saying it's an herb, so I'm not familiar with that herb at all.
Okay. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, and if you find a treatment plan that works for it, make sure you share that, because
Oh, yeah.
this animal that we're talking about, the guy that had it, he was doing some pretty chaotic things, and he did get it started healing, but when we got the animal, it was in pretty sad shape, and now that wound is completely sealed up. It's pretty scarred, but the animal looks like it's doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just using the salt, and I think because we had this animal since it was just a little tiny thing, it got used to the way we did it, like we just discussed, how we kept it, and it went to a new environment and it just freaked it out.
So, what is on the agenda for DTG?
Well, if you haven't heard, we're starting a podcast.
What? You're starting a podcast?
With this guy named John. He's really cool. You should
Everyone
you
does
should meet
that.
him.
It's freaking lame.
Again, I hate going back to this, but there was a lot of stuff that came out of that conversation, the podcast we did. Talking to Ben over from, I think he's from New Jersey, and Dave Levinson. We're going to try to somehow over next summer maybe go visit him and have him come down here and go down into Big Bend and do some herping. When springtime comes around, with this year, everything got messed up so bad. We're just starting to get back into doing videos regularly. We shot 3 or 4 reptile videos that'll be coming out in the next weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We did get to do a bunch of interviews at the NARBC, so
Good
I think
ones.
I think we're good till the middle of November for interviews, which is fantastic. And of course, we got more tarantula videos that are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And John, how many interviews did you get at the show? I don't remember.
So many.
It was a ton, I
So
know.
many. It was so many. I got a goose egg, but I got a lot of B-roll. I was having a good time. I was enjoying my one day there. I should have worked harder, but it's okay.
Sometimes you just have to enjoy the moment. That's the hardest thing about doing this, is that it's so fun. You just want to play the whole time, and I don't know. I love the work that we do, but sometimes you just want to cut loose and do whatever you want, and it's hard when you're worried about filming and interviewing, and for me.
And that's
what
the
you
one
look
nice
like.
thing
You
about
guys,
being
it's
at
easy.
my level.
Being at my level. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that the DTG is coming, having some big changes are going to be coming. We've just got some paperwork issues we got to get squared away.
Not issues, just things in the works.
Okay,
Not issues.
what she said.
We're in a transition stage,
Yeah.
having moved states.
Plus, the other thing that we'll probably focus on a little bit is, for one thing, now we're on a farm, which is really cool.
Yes.
And she wants to do more with that, which doesn't excite me as much. And the differences of how we take care of our animals, because in the process of this, we also ended up we were blessed with 2 new racks. We were able to get them through ARS, and that has just streamlined everything. We don't have a ton of room, but we managed to fit everything that we have into one room. We've got some animals outside that we're gonna
Not everything.
Okay, well, we've got everything. Everything fits right now. We've got a new quarantine room. We've got the invert room now. And so we need to start building back up. We've started doing some breeding. We got 2 female tarantulas that look like they may drop. So we're pretty hopeful for that. And we do have 2 female ball pythons that we picked up that had actually been bred before we got here. And
I'm going to get a drink.
and we're hoping that they're going to drop. So we got our incubator going. We've got bye Gay.
Bye, Gay. Thanks
Here.
for showing up.
Hey, thanks for showing up.
So hopefully we'll get some eggs out of those. We've got the egg containers already sitting in the incubator with moistened substrate in them. So all we got to do is once we get them, they'll go right in the incubator, and hopefully in about 90 days we'll have baby ball pythons to show. And we started a little bit of the fall breeding. We got some animals that are a little bit wild. We put the breed chicks together, and our male did not do good this last year. He lost quite a bit of weight, but we got some weight back on him, so we decided to go ahead and try him again. And he did hang out with her. Now he's away from her, so they might have actually locked up. And got some colubrids, some bull snakes we put together. Haven't tried the corn snakes. Corn snakes, I know most people breed them in the spring, but I try to breed them in the fall and the spring. And then we've got a few other species that we.
Well, I mean, they can double clutch, so it makes sense.
So
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully we'll get some colubrid eggs, because there's some bull snakes I've been working with that are, as far as I know, maybe us and one other people have the locale, but they were wild caught animals, and we've been working with them for about 3 or 4 years, and they just haven't settled down into captivity well enough to reproduce for us. But this year they did a lot better as far as their personality and the stress level with them, so I'll do something off them. And hopefully next year will be a year where we produce quite a few species. But if not, we're not really expecting to start producing heavy for about 2 years. It takes about that long to get everybody settled into a new environment. So if we have another bad year next year, we're prepared for it. It's not a big deal for us. We'll just hit it again the year after.
I mean, I know exactly how that feels.
You just keep doing it till it works.
First year
or
was
you give up.
0%. Second year, 20. 20? Yeah, 20%.
Yeah, 20%.
So,
Well,
hey,
as you
maybe
get
this
more
next year I'll
Maybe
get
this
like
next year I'll get like
25, 30%.
25,
We'll see.
30%. We'll see.
Well, and things that a lot of breeders don't tell you about is that, like ball pythons and certain colubrids and certain pythons, they don't cycle every year. So what can happen is that you can have 5 or 6 years of no luck, because the year you decided she didn't breed the year before, so you decided not to pair her, would be the year that she'd be ready to go, and if she doesn't get a male, she'll just reabsorb those eggs. And you'll never even notice. Like on a Burmese python, we had a Burmese we just lost her recently. We had her for 10 or 15 years as an adult, and bred her probably 7 or 8 of those 10 years. Never got a single egg out of her. And it just could have been that we were trying to cycle her wrong, or we just brought the male in at the wrong time of the year. We don't know. So we're still trying to produce berms.
Mm-hmm. Growing up new kiddos now.
Yep.
It's got a new. Oh, you saw my new berm, huh? Name is Cow. My hypo berm.
Who's that named after?
What's that named after?
Oh, I don't know. This beautiful lady that I know. She's this little wild thing who makes these doongly docks. What are they called?
Boondoggles?
Doongly dings.
Boondoggles?
Boondoggles? Dooney doggles? They're.
It means
Been terrible with the
artistic but
But
useless.
There she is! There's that
sexy
golden
thing.
goddess.
Not right now. I'm kind of tired, but. and I
Where's
also
my
can't
doongly
hear.
dongle? So everyone can see it.
Just calling it a doongly doggle.
Oh,
She
yeah.
doesn't have-
It's a boondoggle, and it's
Boondoggle.
creative but useless art. But it's basically just a keychain that looks cool.
And it's totally cute.
And it makes
And
it
it's gonna
easy.
have stars and hearts.
Yeah, it's easy. To find your keys when you have a boondoggle.
Oh, there we go.
keychain.
See? Maybe you need one. Maybe he needs one.
I can read this sort of.
He's a notorious key loser.
Into Odie Bodie. Say hi, Odie Bodie.
Say hi, Odie Buddy.
Oh, hey. Yeah,
His
Cairo's
nerves
kind of
are
a
still
camera hog.
like
Still
freaking
like freaking
shot from us being gone for 11 days.
Aww.
Like he got
Where
to
did
play
they
on the
go?
ranch and did all this stuff. Like he was playing with the other dogs. He had a great time, but his nerves have just been shot since coming back because he didn't have the 3
Aw.
kids chasing him 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Poor dog.
They have to build up to that. So, what is on the agenda for the, well, I guess before we jump onto your next 6-month agenda, with this podcast, what are we hoping to accomplish with it? Is that a rattlesnake?
Sorry. No, that's the
No,
sink.
that's the sink.
All I could hear was the sink.
All I
going
could hear
off.
was
Like my mic's picking up a lot
My
of
mic's
things.
picking up so hard.
It's okay.
Oh.
What were we talking about?
What were you talking about?
That threw me off. Bad.
That threw me off.
What we're doing for the podcast?
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
so I think it needs to go kind of into the history of the animals we work with, the industry in
the
total,
industry in total,
and
and
then
then
I don't want to just talk
I
to
don't
breeders.
want to just talk to
Jesus.
breeders. Jesus.
You want to just talk to breeders?
Like obviously, I think
Like,
there's
obviously, I think
a benefit
there's
to talking
a
to the
benefit to
breeders,
talking to the
but
breeders,
I would like to talk
I would
to
like to
people
talk
on
to people
all
on
aspects
all
of it, like
aspects.
maybe some people that are scared of reptiles,
Scared of reptiles.
people that
People
have
that have
history all the way back
history
in
all
our
the way back
industry,
in our industry.
people that are just in it for education, things like that. I mean, there's all kinds of different aspects we can look at, but I don't know. I don't know what I did. You guys still there? Did I lose you? I think we may have lost him, guys. Hello?
Are they frozen?
Yeah, I think their internet connection went out.
Oh no, he's gonna poop on my hand. I just know it. He always does.
Well, we are figuring this out slowly but surely, guys.
Entertainment.
I think we are getting ready to wrap it up and call it a night since this night was full of technical issues.
I don't even know where.
Yeah, we lost them.
Poor teams. He's about to jump. Don't jump. Here.
Our little creeper. That's it. My wife is a distraction. She is not allowed in here while we podcast or shoot lives or do anything. So like I was saying before we lost signal with them, I want to jump into all angles of it. We'll see if that works. I am getting ready to start pairing again because I honestly didn't start pairing until February of this year. That first clutch actually will not pip or hatch till around February of next year based off of the ovulation. So we're going to see how that goes. Oh, are we back? Are we back? Are we back?
Yes,
Hi.
we are. I had to turn over. Just so everybody knows, we are in the middle of nowhere, so our internet is very spotty. We don't know what we can do to fix it. I found out that AT&T ran cable to the place that I work, which is about 10 blocks away from the AT&T station. It was $50,000 to run that cable. So we're about 6 blocks away from that place. So I don't think we're going to drop $100,000 just to get internet. We are going to have to
Just make do.
Yeah.
Until a better company comes along. There's two. And from what we've been told, we've got the top service we can have in this area for now.
Look into boosters.
Look into boosters.
We have two
What's
in
a
our
boost?
house.
Two in our house.
So you can get signal boosters.
Signal boosters.
They've already come and installed one booster.
I would look at throwing another one. We have two in our house. We have one on either end. That way, when I'm in the snake room or we're in our living room or the bedroom, we still have full connection throughout. Otherwise, like our stuff gets all spotty.
Okay. Where do we get a booster at?
You should just be able to go through the cable company.
All
Either
right,
that or
so
look
then we-
online. Because you can do it through Bluetooth, I think.
All right. Well, one of my goals through this podcast is it was pretty interesting that I was listening to Brian Barczyk's podcast here today, and he was talking about how when he was big in the hobby in the 90s, there were people there that everybody looked up to that nobody even knows these days. And one of the names that went out there, they've got a bet going about trying to interview Mark Bell, because I guess Mark Bell is not interested in interviewing in any way, shape, or form. So that would be somebody that I'd like to talk to, because the Bell phase leopard gecko, I think it was a leopard gecko,
Or the Bell Phase lace monitor.
No, I don't think the Bell Eye was named after him. The Bell Eye phase came before he was ever around. Those are guys that we really want to talk to,
Right.
because some of the knowledge that they still have that they've forgotten about is knowledge that could benefit a lot of people nowadays. Especially, as united as we are, we're still divided. There's a lot of people that are holding secrets back, and we don't want that at all. We want everybody to know how to do it, because the only way that we're going to be able to keep this hobby going is if we stick together and teach each other.
Also, too, so we think that education is a very important aspect of this hobby, but ultimately the most important thing is conservation, and breeding in captivity is ultimately going to be the best answer, because there's no way to completely protect the environment. And yes, definitely, I think we should recycle and protect the forests and the jungles and all that to the best that we can. But if in Sri Lanka people are dying and starving to death, and the best thing that they can do is sell palm oil, I mean, we're not going to be able to save all the areas of our planet, but we could potentially save most species from going extinct if we learn how to keep and care and reproduce them in captivity, which we're all about that. So people may think it's cruel or unkind, but if it were me, I would rather be kept in 3-star accommodations than have my home be bulldozed and murdered. So That's just me.
Plus, the one thing that nobody seems to understand about nature is that there has to be a financial reason to keep it going. Keeping these animals is important. We have to make it monetary, otherwise nobody's going to have any interest in it.
For the most part, not like a long-term passion.
I'm talking about what I'm saying is that if there's no monetary gain from it, the people that can actually make the laws, they don't care.
Yeah, that's
right.
true.
The hobbyists that are keeping these animals love them to death, but they're not the ones that get to make the final decision on whether all Burmese should be banned because there's a couple found in Florida. It's actually lawmakers that have power.
However,
And-
if there's a lucrative market that they can tax and permit and all that, then the government's going to be interested in preserving those animals.
I need to send her to bartending school.
Yikes.
A lot of
That's
head.
quite a head you're about to swallow there, John.
That's what she said.
You got a little something in your beard there.
So
Turn it out of
the-
practically.
talking to these people, learning how, because this stuff, people have been fighting reptiles forever. People have been afraid of them. They didn't want anything to do with them. And
Well,
some
it
of these
happens.
laws have been on the books since the 50s and the 60s. New Mexico actually has a permit to keep crocodilians, but when we contacted them because we were interested in doing such a thing, they said, you can apply for that permit, but we will not give it to any private individual ever, which is absolutely ridiculous. If there's a permit for it, just because they said so is
you
not
have
a
to
good
be a
enough excuse.
zoological organization.
But that's not
That's not how
the
the law is
requirement
read.
of the permit. It's just based on the opinion of whoever's sitting in the chair at the time, which that person was under the belief that people in the private sector should not be keeping crocodilians, and then they trained the next person. So it was someone who sat there for a long time and then trained the next person.
But how do
And
they?
what their reasoning, what they said was they didn't want New Mexico to become the new Texas.
Yep.
So what do we do?
But the issue with
But
the issue with that is, at the end of the day, how do you think all those zoos in New Mexico, because you can't move those animals across state lines. So how did all the zoos in New Mexico end up with crocodilians?
Illegal smuggling. Right.
There's been several zoos that are
But the
actually
people that want to
sued
do it right
because-
and are willing to get inspected and have to stand by a code are going to get shut down every time.
Right.
So and again, if New Mexico found out it could make $1 billion a year off crocodile skins, there'd be more permits issued. There's not going to be anybody to stop that. But there's not. I mean, there's no way to make that kind of money, enough money to make an impact to New Mexico for them to say, okay, we think it's okay if people want to keep crocodilians as pets.
Totally agree.
So you've got to have some kind of a financial. Well, here in Texas, they actually banned snake hunting for a year or two, and the reason they got it unbanned with a lot more restrictions is due to the monetary issue of people coming here from all over the world, spending their hard-earned money in the state, and that's how they got it overturned.
Yeah, they had a major loss of revenue when those people stopped coming through the state.
And that's really the conservation that we're fighting. That's unfortunately the kind of conservation we're fighting. It's not so much about the animals, because that, if you fight on that stance because you like animals and you're worried that they're going to go extinct before your family, before your kids can grow up and see these animals in the wild, it's a losing battle. Nobody cares. There has to be some reason to fight for these animals. And sometimes you'll get institutions that manage to do it through other ways. For instance, PETA, which I'm not a fan of. They like to hit little old ladies and little old people.
Oh, wait, I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
And tell them that they're going to be rescuing all these animals, and the main drive of PETA is just a political agenda. They don't care about
Absolutely.
animals at all. That's just how they get on the
They
platform and
actually
get their money.
euthanize more animals a year than any other organization.
So, you know,
But they
it's-
won't tell
and-
you that. Like you got. That's the
No,
thing
but
is
the
that
statistics are published, and the public has access to those for anyone who's interested in seeing that.
But they have power enough to keep that really quiet
Mhm.
because it hurts them. So, but that's neither here nor there.
well,
What
if
it
they
is
had
is
their
that-
way, you wouldn't even have your dogs or cats.
Exactly.
Well, if they had their way, I think they'd go even further to our livestock. We wouldn't have chickens or cows or anything to eat. We'd just be eating dirt because I'm
Speaking
sure
of
eventually
jumping
it
to
get to a
that,
point where plants bleed. You know.
I think you guys need to create a second channel for that because you have enough livestock now. Just saying.
Well, yeah.
That way
like, 'cause
your
we have-
reptile / tarantula channel can stay focused, and then you can have a
Yes, 'cause I
livestock
have
channel.
so much time to start another channel and fight.
I'm
the
just
pit
saying,
fight.
when you have like 50,000 subscribers on each channel, you should be able to get an editor that can do that for you.
In
Or maybe
theory,
talk
but
to a
every-
friend that wouldn't take a giant payment.
I've heard how much you charge. I can't afford that.
$100 an hour. I ain't no cheap bitch.
No,
Oh, okay.
but it's so one of the things that we want to do is we want to go back to the roots of this and how it got started, and even talking about the stuff that isn't talked about, which again, this industry is tied up with the drug industry way more intimately than anybody wants to let on for several reasons. One, there were a lot of drugs that were imported under the reptiles. Two, the methods that they were moving drugs in, they were moving animals in too. I mean, there was a guy, Hank Molt. He would put them in the guy in Australia would put them in a cassette tape and ship them here. And sometimes the animals didn't make it, sometimes they did. But a lot of our founding stock that we're breeding still to this day, I think it's actually Woma pythons.
How did they put womas in a cassette?
The
tape?
babies aren't that big.
Yeah.
A cassette?
Mm-hmm. And stick them in the mouth.
Like a VHS?
You need to rebreed that book again.
Yeah.
So
I
we
wanna-
want to find those people.
I want to
Go
sit in Crutchfield's house. Like, I want to take the time to really just let out any history that he's willing to let out.
We need to drive down there and
Yeah.
do it. We've got
He's
an
told us
invitation.
we can come anytime. It's just finding the time for us to leave and go to Florida. Scary because we'd have to leave everything behind, and we'd want to do a lot while we were there. So
And Earl's made the motions that he wants to go down there too because he wants to swim with Earl
he
Jones
already
from
told
All Star
me.
Reptiles. So one of these days we're gonna have to organize a trip around one of the shows, one of the big shows down there, and all of us are gonna have to go down there and podcast and go herping and meet all these people. Because Mario Tabro is another one that we would love to go and see his facility. The guy brought in some of the first albino reptiles, you know, to hit the shores, and
yeah.
it'd be
And
really cool to
I
hear.
personally like cats and stuff, so I want to see his place is incredible.
Yeah.
Here
You know
comes
what's
the
funny
next
was on Tiger King is Mario Tabro is like the most sane person that they try to portray as a lunatic. I'm like, no. Mario's cool. I mean, I would never cross him, but he's nowhere near the level of crazy that Carol and Joe were. I mean, he's like just very chill. He let me chat with his chimpanzee on Instagram. That was fun.
And
I
and
mean,
Joe was he wasn't too wild off camera. That was all in front of the camera. And I know that he had a few loose screws, but
well, you kind
I
of
think
have to be psychotic to want to keep. What are they, like 1,000 pounds almost?
I don't know how much they weigh.
Give or
I
take.
don't
A
know.
1,000 pound freaking feline that if it's not fed enough, will take you down in a heartbeat. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to be a little bit psychotic to want to keep those animals. Granted,
Well,
we're a little bit psychotic for wanting to keep retics and things like that. So
Eh,
We will be breeding king cobras eventually. So is that more crazy? I don't know. You gotta call what's that saying? You gotta call an egg, or you gotta call a rib. So I wouldn't say he's any more crazy than what we want to keep. What we are. His desire. I think the thing that got him in the end ultimately was that the fame was a little more important to him than the animals. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's what was indicated. Yeah, Iron Dog Reptile said Tom has an amazing collection of reptiles and knowledge.
yes.
Tom's forgotten more than any of us will ever know, that's saying a lot. I mean, the guy is really smart, and when you talk to him, he can put you in your place very quickly, just a moment's thought of what he knows. It's amazing.
that's one of the things that Earl told me. Like me and Earl, that poor man, probably listens to me like 4 or 5 hours a week. Because we'll just call him. Because I don't sleep, so he gets stuck talking to me at night when no one else wants to talk. It's like when we go to Crutchfield's house, whenever it happens, because you will be taking me. He was like, just shut the up and let Tom say what he needs to say. Because you're going to get more out of him from just taking it in than trying to question.
Right.
Yeah, that's the kind of people we really want to hit.
Absolutely.
We actually tried to do a live with Tom Crutchfield, but
a couple times.
But he's in such an area where the internet is not there. We've actually got to go and sit down with him and try to get him to sit down long enough to do an interview.
So you guys were trying to become legends and do the same thing and find areas where you can't. No, I'm just kidding. So while we have a few people, we have never talked about the title that we want to give this podcast. So,
Go on.
dear Marita, do you want to?
Me?
Oh yeah.
What are
It starts with you.
you.
It starts with you, dear.
Well, I don't even know whose idea it was.
It was John's.
I was a little
We
drunk.
threw around a lot of ideas. Yeah, so when I heard Beauty, Beast, and the Beard, I felt like that represented each one of us. Well, I mean, is that vain to say? I don't know. I'm the girly one, for sure, out of these two. And
I thought I was the beauty. Damn it.
Well, I don't know. Not very beardy here. Am I that much of a beast? But yeah, so I felt like it represented each one of us is pretty different. And John, you do have a very luxurious beard. And yes.
So the one thing that we had against it was that it was triple B. So John reached out to Brian Cusco and asked if we'd have any problems with us naming that, and he said he didn't. So basically, we haven't found a reason not to call it that. So that's what it's gonna be.
Now we just need a sweet logo.
Yep. Which I heard was in the works, right, John?
We're working it. We'll see what you guys think about it, but we're working it.
Awesome. So what we will be doing is for the first probably I don't want to give a time because we don't even know how often we're going to be coming on. Especially we got to get the audio problems fixed because we want it to sound really good. So we got to get our internet fixed.
We kind of threw around the idea of monthly starting off. I don't know if that's still the plan.
But we've also talked about starting another channel completely separate from both of our channels to do it. For the beginning, we're probably just going to bounce back and forth between our channels. Just to get started and get the taste in people's mouths of what we're doing. And there's a couple people that I've already asked. Dave Levinson was one guy. Mm-hmm. Ben from R&B Reptiles. Mm-hmm. Both those guys are great guys and they're very interesting. So hopefully we'll get to do some lives with them. John, I know you've reached out to a couple people. So we're hoping to get some pretty big names right off the start and get this thing what we're looking for is we certainly don't want to embarrass anybody too bad, but we do want to try to get address some of the issues that aren't addressed in other podcasts.
Right.
So that's going to be a big goal of ours, is to, like, we did one interview with Kabelka a year or two ago, and it wasn't even about ball pythons. It was about him growing up in Oklahoma, and that's kind of the focus that we want to take, is the stuff that you can't just go to any other channel and find out. And of course, we'll get some of that basic stuff too, but that's really what this podcast is going to be. Is we're going to just try to take it from a little bit of a different perspective, and having a tarantula people and reptile people, hopefully we'll be able to get some really interesting people on, because there's a guy we've been trying to get on for years that is a huge influence on both of us. His name's Trooper Walsh, and he's just been gun shy about doing it. He's almost given in once or twice, and then he backs off. So hopefully we'll be able to inspire him to sit down with us for a few minutes. We found out John Hollister is about 3 hours away from us, but we had actually hit him up about somebody said he might be interested in driving over here and doing doing an interview with us just on camera. And he never called us back, so maybe he's not all that wild about it. So one of these days, John, we're probably going to have to cruise over to his part of the woods and go sit down with him for an interview. I hear that his health is not terrible, but it's, every year it gets a little harder on him, so I want to try to get that done soon. And John has already thrown out a couple names that he wants to put in, and they've expressed interest. So we want to try to cover it all, and we want to get information out there that will help everybody in the industry to be a better reptile keeper and tarantula keeper.
And I think one of the great things that we've done is that we're not just focusing on like retics or ball pythons, but we're reaching out. Like we're talking to people that do venomous. We're reaching out to people that do like colubrids. We're reaching out to people that do ball pythons, retics, every aspect, monitors, like every aspect that you can think of. We're trying to dive it in and show the industry in a total versus just one species. And I know a lot of the other podcasts that I follow that say reptile podcast, their focus is always ball pythons, which there's nothing wrong with that, but there's so much more to reptiles than just ball pythons and breeding ball pythons and making pretty snakes. I mean, I know that gets everyone started in the industry, but you can't tell me that you can't look at a retic and get so many different variations. You can't look at
pythons are not my favorite. They're not the coolest.
No, they're
snake.
not my favorite.
I mean, they're cool. I love them. Don't get me wrong, but if that's all we did, ugh.
I love ball pythons, but I'm kind of a whore. I love it all, so I'm not particular about what species I love. If it has scales on it, chances are I like it, except for that weird ass species that who was it that I was telling you that Brian Barczyk was talking about?
He's a reptile whore.
He just passed away.
If it has scales, he likes it.
No.
Forrest Fanning.
Forrest Fanning. He was into some little weird abronia or something. And those are
the Mexican lizards.
Yeah.
They're ugly and they're boring.
I like
but that's just me. That's one of the few things that
I like them.
If I see them.
So one of the things that I found myself liking more is if it comes in a locality, like if you want to base it off of strictly locality, I'm starting to fall in love with those animals, like super dwarf retics, abronia, your green tree pythons, your emerald boas, things like that, like stuff that you don't want to mix the bloodlines. You want to keep that locality and keep it as pure as possible. That's what is really getting my
You've
blood
been
going right
listening
now.
to Garrett Hard.
I know.
I can tell. Which, by the way, we love Garrett and we support him on Patreon because we love Garrett.
Oh man, did I get in trouble for that? But that's a different story. Yeah, I love locale stuff too, but I don't really care if somebody produces a gray band king snake that's not just a River Road or a Black Gap, and it's a cross between the two of them. I don't really care.
They're the same species.
But I do like Black Gaps more than any of the other locales. Although I do like the stuff that's coming out of Sanderson right now.
Although I will say specifically to Garrett, I have huge respect for what he's doing, his specific project, and understand it. Gray bands, though, a gray band is a gray band is a gray band. They all can vary so much. So just breed one to the other and see what happens. That's what I think.
And we want to thank Garrett for joining us on our podcast about the Sulawesi's.
Yes.
There was huge controversy about.
It was a YouTube episode.
Yes. Huge controversy about whether the Sulas that we were selling were true Sulas. They were, don't get me wrong, but some people were saying they weren't. And it was a big old disaster. But
well, not really. We got it squared away.
Yeah.
Jay Brewer came on. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you right now, when he gets super dwarf pieds, I'm gonna be pulling a second mortgage on my house. Like, you know how much I love pied rechicks, but when it comes in a super dwarf, I am freaking pulling a second mortgage on my house, and if he sees this, I'm gonna be so fucked. But it's okay.
Well, I love piebald everything too, and I want to get into those corn snakes they're not really pied, but they're white with red spots. Can't think of what they are.
Oh, yeah.
But we heard a vicious rumor that there's actually blood pythons that are pied now. Huh?
What are those called, those corns?
Palmettos.
Yeah.
And I can't wait till hopefully the blood pythons will hit the market, and I've been trying to get her interested in blood pythons for a couple of years. Huh?
If that's real, you're going to see me jump into bloods too. The only thing that kept me away from it is so many people are going towards like the golden eye or golden head or whatever it's called.
Oh, there's the golden eye.
Yeah.
Who was that? Was it Tracy that did those? She did. It's like all the Mission Impossible names. The golden eye, the
007.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I like bloods.
I just don't like yellow. I love bloods. I'm not a yellow and gold fan.
Really?
The thing I appreciate about the bloods is how deep that red is, because it's not something you can pull out in most other snakes.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of morphs
You're
out
looking
there.
at
The one thing
how many
I don't
years
like
of
about
people trying to
bloods-
create a red ball python?
Yeah.
Go get a freaking blood python. It's the same keeping, except for a little bit bigger enclosure. Humidity's up a little bit. Temperature's down a little bit, but it's relatively the same keeping. Except
Well,
for a bigger enclosure. And you get the red.
That is something that I want to get into. Is I'd like to get a couple pair of those. I also want to get Angolan pythons. There was a guy that was a paleontologist or something. He went to Africa or something on a dig for 9 months or a year, and I got to keep his Angolans for him. A friend of mine, one of my mentors, he was taking over his collection, and it was all expensive stuff. And I ended up with those Angolans, and they were really cool. But then our friend Mike from Crash Site Reptiles, he was saying he bought a pair, and they were total retards. They would go upside down.
He
they
means
would go
that they were
all
special.
the way up to the top of the cage and sit upside down until they actually fell over. Well, I'm afraid that they've been too inbred is what I'm worried about.
Right.
So hopefully I'll be able to find, when we do decide, because they're so expensive, hopefully we can find some that are not so like that. Because we've heard stories about some of the first hognose that came out that in a couple different cases, they've been inbred for so long in the beginning that the snakes wouldn't act normal. I mean, they would crawl upside down, things like that. And we of course want to stay away from that. We have enough issues without trying to breed or raise snakes that just want to be upside down. So there's a lot of things that we'll be trying to grow into here over the next couple years. But I was told this weekend that I made a promise that
you were reminded
that I said that if we moved to Texas and we got these 2 new racks, that we would pretty much just focus on what we have.
Mm-hmm.
But this statement was made before somebody dropped a ton of money on a pair of pied retics. So I don't know how valid that argument is.
I was there that day.
I mean, come on. When Bob Clark is saying, come on down and let's see what we can do, who am I to say no? He gave me a beautiful necklace. I'm even wearing it tonight. My ammonite necklace. See that?
I'm just saying, when you're ready to let go of that whitehead male, let me know.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll make lots of him. We've got lots of females we're raising up, so by the time he's ready to go, hopefully we'll be able to run him across a lot of females.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Yes,
and
yes.
we're going to have to build a 20,000 square foot facility have one solid wall of that 20,000 feet to just have retic cages.
That is, whoo-wee, that'll get me going. Get my blood pumping.
I'm getting there if I don't watch out. Mama might kill me before.
It's amazing how addictive it is. I mean, people don't realize that, but once you get one, it's hard to say no to 2 and 3 and 4 and
or 50.
yeah.
So like the hard thing is, I want to go out further, right? Like, I have a neighbor, well, not like next door neighbor, but he's literally 10 minutes away from me. One of like, I think 5 guys that I know that are into reptiles in El Paso, and he has Brenly babies right now. Like I've watched the ovulation, I watched them get laid, I watched them go into the incubator. It's just like,
since
because I'm already at 7 species. And I'm trying to figure out.
Your neighbor, would he cut you a deal?
No.
See, that's what you do is you. So this is the plan. This is how you do it is you go over there and you give him lots of congratulations and then you talk to him over the next year. So when he produces next year, you're such a good friend that he can't help but give you a good deal. That's how you do
Well,
it.
I use his beard oil, so I'm hoping like after long enough, I'll just get sponsored by his beard oil, and I'll be like, well, just keep like a couple months of the beard oil sponsorship, and give me these snakes.
Yeah, whatever works, man. I mean, you gotta play all the angles because sometimes
Pimp your beard if you have to.
whatever works.
I mean,
We've
it's
done
pretty
some
soft
things
right now,
before.
however.
And that is something else we're gonna have to talk about. Is speaking of our audio stuff, I just had a thought. Are you gonna be free tomorrow?
I am free until November, so whatever you want to do, brother.
Well, what I'm thinking is maybe you could call Sweetwater, which is where we got all this stuff. I'm giving a plug. They are an amazing place. That's where we bought all this equipment. And tell them the problems we're having with it. They may be able to troubleshoot it just through the phone.
That would
Because
be.
I've dropped a ton. I've dropped a
going
ton of
for it.
money with them, so they should be able to help us out. Yes, we.
Yes. Oh, what? Sorry. you
Hey,
guys
we
weren't
do
very-
not show physical violence here.
No. Oh, you mean?
I'm just kidding.
So
You saw
anyway,
it
I am.
here first, guys. Marita has a mean side.
You better watch out.
You don't mess with Marita. You don't.
I'll
It's
be there
painful.
soon. Please don't hit me. I'm a big woodsy.
All right, man. We got to let you go because it's bedtime and we both got to get up, and I'm still on call, so I may get called in any time. We will be doing this again here pretty soon. Next time it'll probably be on DTG, Deadly Tarantula Girl. I want to thank everybody for coming. We're gonna make this a habit. We're gonna keep doing it, and we're gonna try to get some people that you're gonna want to see.
Absolutely,
Love
and I
you guys.
appreciate you
Thanks
guys
for
for coming
joining.
in. I will actually have Riley from Riley's Reptiles live here tomorrow. So hopefully the audio is fixed for that. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Well, like I said,
Goodbye,
call
Mom.
Sweetwater tomorrow.
I will.
Good night, beautiful lady.
Bye.
There's my dongly doo.
What's that?
I said, there's my dongly doo.
Yeah, I'm working on one for my neighbor.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Y'all have a great night.
Night.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.